like to call to order the meeting for the Lansing Charter Commission. It's May 20th, 2025. Clerk Swope, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Adam Simon.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd. Commissioner Dowd. Commissioner Jeffries.
Here.
Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Coe. Commissioner Washington. There are 7 members present. A quorum. Commissioners Anderson and Washington are not present.
Thank you. Motion, I don't know. Motion be in order to adopt the agenda. It's been moved. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. The agenda has been adopted. Motion would also be in order to approve the minutes for our May 13th, 2025 meeting. It's been moved and supported. Are there any additions, corrections, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed? The minutes are approved. Now is the time for public comment.
And we have no public comment at this time.
Okay. Moving on to officer reports under chair, I do have one report. I did place at your seats some language that's entitled Transparency Chapter 5. This deals with Article 7 that we dealt with last week, and it's the publication of city taxes and debt obligations. You can read through it. We won't take it up tonight. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, but we will bring it up next week. So that's my report. Madam Vice Chair, do you have a report?
No report.
Clerk Swope.
Just a couple of things. We do have one written comment that's in your packet. And then I also wanted to, someone at the last commission meeting talked about the pay of the commissioners, and they were significantly off in terms of the amount of pay that you all will receive. The charter commissioners receive a per diem of $200 per meeting for a maximum of 45 meetings. So no matter how many meetings you have over the course of the 3 years, the most you would earn is $9,000, which is significantly less than what was mentioned at the previous meeting. So
18,000.
Yeah, they said it was
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify the public on that number was way off. And
So how would we get to the 18?
because the charter said 90 meetings are allotted,
Yeah.
and they're over.
I just,
So we're not doing that?
no.
We could have that meetings, we don't speak for over 45.
Yep, that's true.
all right, and that's all I have.
Okay, we're under old business. We have put together for you kind of starting to clean up the work that we've done in the past, and there have been a number of provisions that we've looked at and decided we needed further information, or there were no questions and we just didn't vote on them. So we're going to go back and start cleaning that up to bring this to a conclusion. So to start us off tonight, I would ask our council, there's a memo in our packet dealing with Article 3-206, 3-207, and there's also part of 2-302.2D in our packet as well. So Kristen, would you want to start us off, please?
Sure. So this memo we're looking at starts on page 8 of your packet, and this is looking at 3-206 and 207. This is based on a conversation the commission has had over the last couple meetings about revisiting some changes that were made earlier based on some comments and concerns expressed by the unions about how this may affect union employees' rights under collective bargaining agreements. So what we did was based on the conversations that the commission has had. If you look at how this is arranged, you'll see I've got 3-206 in sort of 3 stages. So the first stage on page 8 is how it currently exists in the current charter. The next one with the red font contains the changes that have been voted. The proposed language is based on the conversation that the board has had following the communications. The proposed changes would be just to roll the approved revisions back to what the 3-206 currently reads, which is removing the language "or any person or committee authorized by it for the purpose." And that's for 3-206. Then for 3-207, again, the same format. But the removal, the proposed removal of language would be in point 1 to remove the statement that gives the city council the right to compel attendance of city officers at its meetings. And then actually just to simply delete point 4 through point 6, which created a duty of officers and employees to cooperate in an inquiry investigation of the city council, and then some, punitive or penal language about a willful failure without justification, the results of failure to cooperate. So, again, this, by adopting the proposed changes, you'd be just repealing it back to what the current state is.
Been moved and supported, so just to make sure we've got the correct motion.
Can't hear you.
Thank you. So on page 9, the proposal is to, or the motion is to approve 3-206 as the proposed language in the middle of the page. Is that everybody's understanding?
Yes.
And is that the motion? Okay. Also, for 3-206.1 through point 3, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Then the second motion would be to approve 3-207 on page 10 as the proposed language. Is there a motion and support for that? It's been moved
Second.
and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And then we also have on Chapter 3, vacancies, 2-302, the language in 2-302.2, D as in dog, where it says is determined by city council to have engaged in misconduct in the performance of official duties of the office. And this,
Point.
page 6. I'm sorry.
You just skipped over.
I'm
I'm like, what is
Well,
going on?
no.
Everybody's like,
Okay.
yeah, we're all like, where's
Glad
he
you
at?
know.
I'll
you had your
just follow
ass.
my lead.
Yeah, you
Just say
did.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just trying to play it off.
Okay. Sorry. Jeez. It's a rough crowd tonight. They haven't had dinner. So.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So is everybody on page 6? So what this does is it basically says the position of an elective city officer, such as the mayor, or an appointee shall be forfeited if it is determined by city council to have engaged in misconduct in the performance of official duties of the office. I don't think that's what we intended in terms of giving that kind of authority, whether it's to the city council or to the mayor. The mayor may have some innate authority, but I think that went beyond what we had talked about, and so I wanted to bring it to your attention. I think it would be appropriate, and the discussion that we had when we brought this up 2 meetings ago was to eliminate that verbiage as well. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Dowd?
And just to clarify, what you mentioned in our last meeting was that this allows essentially, or it could allow council to vote out the mayor, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the concern, right? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the definition of elected, or of a city officer, elected city officer would include anybody. Yes,
Question.
Madam Vice Chair.
If the mayor is found to be in violation of the conduct of duties, who is allowed to remove him? Except, well, obviously Michigan state law says the governor.
Mhm.
But this is saying something different. This is going to
Mhm.
say that the council can do it.
That's why we're removing it.
Yeah, yeah. I just want clarification so people understand.
Commissioner Washington?
So what are you proposing, Commissioner Adam Simon, that perhaps council could go to the governor? I mean, like, who would take it to the governor?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
And
the
I'm
question.
thinking maybe we could put, council could contact the governor. I certainly
Just-
wouldn't be comfortable with council removing any elected official,
Right.
but I think they should
I
have the
believe-
power to
Well,
address the governor.
yeah, I think the council at any time could always pass a resolution and send it to the governor requesting action be taken, similar to what Board of Trustees at Michigan State did in terms of sending it out to the governor. So I don't
But
think
any
there's-
citizen can do that as well.
I think anybody can.
Yes, okay.
So is there a motion to remove this language? It's been moved and supported. Any other conversation? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, that language has been removed. Where am I going now? All right, on our cheat sheet here, let's go to page, I believe it's 12. My numbers are cut off, so if I don't get the right page number. This is the, let me make sure I've got this right.
The outstanding.
Yes, okay, this is Article 3 and 4 outstanding sections requiring approval. I believe it's page 12 in your packet. Okay, these are the provisions that we have that have been reviewed, and there were no pending questions or concerns or amendments from the commissioners' review. So if you go to page 13, in terms of starting that review, we need to go through each one of these articles and sections and make sure that we approve them. I think we may have some questions on some of these, and I would ask our attorney to make sure, in terms of looking at this, that, there may be a need to tighten up some of this or to clean it up. So why don't we begin at 3-201 meetings, point 1. These are the city council meetings. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2.
Second.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Special meetings, 3-202. Support? Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Yes.
So, under 3-202, special meetings, point 1. Special meetings can be held at the call of the clerk upon the written request of the mayor or any two members of the council. Is that what we're approving? So we're saying the mayor can call a special meeting of the council even though the mayor doesn't vote on the council.
Correct.
We like that?
Yeah, you'll have emergency needs to meet. Yeah, it happens.
Okay.
So we did approve 3-202.2, that's why it's not in here. So 3.202.3? Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. 3-204.1. It's been moved. Is there support? Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 3-205. Point 2.
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner Lopez.
so in the previous conversation, forfeiture of office, is that removal of office, or what is that? Because we just said that council shouldn't have the ability to remove an elected official. So is this contradicting or not?
It would be removal for misconduct. The city council could still declare someone in office forfeit. So for example, if the situation, if the mayor absconds and doesn't show up, that sort of situation.
Well,
I just want clarification. To me, my understanding is forfeiture of a council member, not any elected official, just one of their colleagues.
but the council member is an elected official.
And that is a good point, because elected official in City of Lansing means the city clerk, city council, and the mayor,
Right. So
according to
they're all elected
charter right now.
officials.
Sorry.
Commissioner Washington?
From my recollection, when a council person was asked to leave before, they had the option not to, and they did not leave.
Well, I just want to be clear on
I
what-
understand.
what one section says, then another section says different. So they need to be the same, I believe. So if we can clear it up.
Commissioner Dow?
Forfeiture isn't removing, though.
Yeah.
So that's different than removing. Their forfeiture is not removing them from
Okay,
office.
so we'll have definitions, right? So forfeiture of what? That they can't vote, they can't,
Do we have?
what does that mean?
That is the Michigan state law, election law.
I'm sorry?
The Michigan state election law is very clear and says that the governor is the only person that can remove an elected official from office.
I understand that.
Right, but what he's asking is, what
It's
does
the
forfeiture mean?
What does that mean?
That's a good question. I'd
Yeah.
like to know.
302.2 outlines criteria for forfeiture. It's on page 6 of your packet.
Back to page 6.
Number 6, page 6.
Wait, we're going backwards again.
Backwards.
What's that about?
Going back to that crazy page 6.
That's very clear. That's very clear.
That's-
There has to be a public hearing.
A forfeiture seems to be based on the conduct of the officer itself that was created. The removal is done by the council itself. So it's kind of like automatic, if you do 2A through C, any one of those things, your office is forfeited. But on the other language that we're dealing with is same thing, yeah.
Well, so
We'll get-
yeah, because forfeiture means that they lose their position or their,
Yeah,
so,
we'll come back with some clarifying language on that. Commissioner Washington. I'm sorry, Commissioner Anderson?
And I just want to say, to me, when I read this, I don't read that city council is actually taking action. It's just saying that they, to me, should create an ordinance regarding what the attendance rules are. And like, if you have 12 consecutive absences, then you're, like, by rule, forfeiting your position. So I think it's just saying that, like, they're creating the rules around what that looks like.
Commissioner Washington?
And I think the difference here too is it clearly states there has to be a public hearing. So it's not as though they actually can remove them. They can begin the process of removing the forfeiture. So they don't have the
but they don't
power to
remove,
remove
they
them.
forfeit their position, in other words.
Correct.
It's of their own doing. So I just want to make clear what those terms
Yeah.
mean, so that we don't get confused, or the council doesn't know where to go, or doesn't want to go. So,
All right. Glad we got clarity on that. So, 3-205.2. Is there a motion? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3.
So moved.
Moved, and there's support. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 3-301.1 and point 2. Point 1. I guess I would ask, Kristen, does this comport with the Home Rule City Act? Has there been any additions or requirements, additional requirements since this was last dealt with?
A, you need to leave in place because there's a penalty. B, the only question, I suppose, is rents. And then C, you would need to leave in place, because you'd have to essentially pass an ordinance to repeal an ordinance, or you have to use the same process. So I did not see any issues with this when I did my review on that.
Great. Is there a motion to support? Motion and support on this? It's been moved. Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2. It's been moved, supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. 3-302.1 through point 6, introduction of ordinances. Point 1. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3. Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 4. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 5. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And point 6. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And then 3-303.1 through point 4, 3.1. It's been supported and moved. Is there, in terms of the filing in the clerk's office and such other public places as the city council may designate, did we want to include our language in there about the most, we could say shall be published in accordance with this charter, that the publication definition would take care of that. So it's been moved and supported, and I guess, Kristen, if we added at the end of that sentence, and shall be published in accordance with this charter, that would be a proposed amendment to this section. Is there some motion and support for that?
Would that be, if I may,
Sure.
would that be more appropriate on the notice of the public hearing rather than publication of,
Where, yeah,
so point 2 is the
okay,
notice of the
got it.
hearing.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve point 1 and support. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2, we would add at the end of that sentence, and shall be published in accordance with this charter. Okay, so there's a motion? Is there support? Okay. So that would be for the entirety of point 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3. It's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, point 4. Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 3-304.1 through point 4. Point 1.
So moved.
I guess I'd ask the city clerk, in looking at this entire section, is this up to date, or are we needing to be doing anything else in terms of process?
We publish a notice, and the city attorney has always directed us that we don't need to publish we don't publish in the paper the entire ordinance. We publish the notice of the ordinance and say that the ordinance is available in the clerk's office. It's also available on the website. So I don't know if that needs any clarification, if our attorney thinks that needs clarification, we don't publish the entire ordinance.
But you do give a copy to each council person.
They get in their council packets, yes, yep.
Okay, so this is, Commissioner Dowd?
Clerk,
Yeah.
you're speaking on number 2, not number 1.
Right. Point two, it sounds a little bit like we published the whole thing. We just had a zoning ordinance that was 117 pages. We didn't put the whole thing in the paper.
Yeah. The city faults would like that.
We publish a notice. We publish a notice that it was adopted and the effective date and how to get a copy.
Go ahead.
Do you disseminate that like in a packet prior to the council meeting? Like for people to read that if they choose to? I know it's a lot of pages, but,
The full ordinance is available generally when it's referred to city council, it's in a packet.
okay.
When they set the hearing, the ordinance isn't in the packet when they set the hearing, but when they hold the hearing, it's in the packet. When they adopt it, it's in the packet.
Okay.
And then it's available on the web afterwards. So there are multiple times where it's available.
But the
in fact-
entire, all of
But
it?
we don't publish the whole thing in the paper.
No, I get
ever.
the paper part.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Anderson?
I just want to clarify, point 2 does say with a notice of its adoption. To me, it doesn't read that you're publishing the entire ordinance, so I think the language is fine as is.
Go ahead.
I'm good with that.
With, is this a motion?
Do we want to approve point 1 first?
Okay, yeah. Point 1. See, I wanted to go back. Point 1, is there a motion?
Mr. President,
It's been
Mr.
moved.
President.
Support.
question.
Commissioner Lopez.
On 2,
We're on point 1.
now you still on point 1?
Yeah. We can't
Thought
get
we had
off point
approved that
1.
already.
Everybody wants to go to point 2, we just can't get off point 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Now we're at point 2.
Okay, point 2. So a newspaper or general circulation, are we going to include also, or should we include, technology for posting in various
I
forms?
think it should be.
I think that's a legal requirement.
I'm sorry?
That's a legal requirement, the publication in the newspaper.
I believe that's,
Thought there was.
I'm not aware of any jurisdictions that don't publish a notice in the paper of it, so yes.
Do you want to include
But
our,
in addition, because,
you want to include our language about publication?
I thought we already did that.
no.
Not
it
in
doesn't
this
say that.
one, we did not.
Pardon?
Not in this section, we did.
Not in this
No, I
section.
thought we did it.
As, I mean, you
Applies
have
to
it in a
everything.
different section, it could be.
We did.
As, again, as per charter language.
Right.
So- But then you have to refer them to the,
You have to use the word, yeah, okay. All right. Commissioner Anderson? No, you're good? Okay, and
When
Vice Chair.
when you talk about publication in a newspaper, how do you designate that? I mean, because you're not going to print 100 and so odd pages in every newspaper that's available. So are you just saying disseminating it? Yeah, website, I think that's fair. Social media, I think that's fair. But if you do, and what are our, I'm not going to name certain papers, but what are our papers that you would consider publishing that in?
There are 2 papers locally that meet the state law requirements.
Okay,
For
fair.
publication. We tend to use the one that's less expensive.
how about the circulation, does it matter?
Doesn't want to mention? All right, so on point 2, any other questions? Is there a motion? It's been moved, support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 4. Madam Vice Chair.
Chair, can we go back to point 3? It says the public hearing may be held not sooner than 5 days. Should that be business days?
Um,
Or should it be business days? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Are we-
Clerk Swope.
But we're like one down from.
No, I said,
Yeah.
can we go back? I just
Yeah.
asked a question, can
Oh.
we go back?
Um,
Yeah, I didn't know if it should be 5 business days or 5 days.
It has been 5 days, and the paper that we generally use publishes on Wednesdays, which makes it possible to have a hearing on a Monday.
That's fine.
That makes sense. Okay. All right, back to point 4. H. It's moved. Second. Are we selling these to the public, or?
I have never charged anyone, to my recollection, for a copy of an ordinance.
Can we remove that?
Well, now it's all electronic. right?
Yeah, it's
You've
like-
got
yeah, I mean,
digital,
I just,
so,
I would
Commissioner-
offer to, or suggest we remove that language about selling it. I don't like selling to the public a copy of an ordinance. That just seems cringy.
in-
It mentions selling a copy of the ordinance if somebody wants it, and I'm suggesting we remove that clause, but we don't sell it. We provide it.
okay, so,
Well,
They can download it, yeah.
yeah.
I would argue that if we're charging organizations or requesters a FOIA charge, then we should be charging the public the same thing.
But if
Cost
it's,
is cost.
but if it's available online, you can't charge. You
Well,
have to
that's
just
correct.
direct them to the website.
So how do you want this amended?
My recommendation is that we just strike that part out, or sold to the public at a reasonable price to be fixed by council, and just end it at copies shall be distributed,
Or
not by city council. That's the
how about shall be
available.
published, how about
available to-
shall be published in accordance with the charter?
With the charter, yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with
So
that.
take out distributed or sold to the public at reasonable prices to be fixed by the city council, and insert after B shall be published in accordance with this charter.
Shall be what?
Published in accordance with this charter. Our published definition includes, it's a very broad distribution. So with those changes, is there a motion to approve? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that makes sense, because it says copies shall be published. Now it doesn't, and I think it's referring to like a paper copy. I don't know that copies needs to be there. So the amendment to this charter shall be printed after enactment and take out copies and shall be published.
Okay, makes sense. Does everybody understand? So what we're doing is taking out and copies shall be, and then take out the rest of the sentence and insert published in accordance with this charter.
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer? Yeah, oh, okay, sorry. Don't move your hand. Yeah. All right. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 3-305, veto. Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, passes unanimously. 3-307, emergency ordinances, point 1.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2. Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 4. It's been moved, I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair.
It says no emergency ordinance shall be effective more than 60 days. What happens if the emergency lasts more than 60 days?
They come back and get a new order.
Okay, I'm fine with that, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 3-309. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 4.101.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support? Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes. 4-102.12. Madam, I'm sorry, Commissioner Washington.
When I read it, the mayor shall.
Oh, we have changed all the shalls to must? Oh,
We're on 102.12, right?
yeah, you're right.
Okay, but it says the mayor shall receive, investigate, and respond to all requests for information and all complaints. Should it not say the mayor or his designee?
That's what I'm thinking.
I agree.
He would
Or
designate
the
someone, yeah,
designee,
or
whatever.
designate.
So you think shall should go to may?
There, right? There designated.
Oh, sorry.
Or designee, yeah, oh.
So it's going to read, the mayor or their designee shall receive. I thought we made a decision that we're going to change all the shalls to must. I'm sorry?
We did not.
Oh,
No,
we did
No,
not.
no, we didn't.
Oh,
I wouldn't agree to that.
oh,
No, no, I don't think we did.
excuse my
discussed it
mistake in the
leadership. I
piece of
remember-
literature they gave. I thought we did. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to leave it at shall then?
Yes.
Correct?
So we're trying to meet the state.
The legislature.
Remember?
Yeah.
The state
I'm not certain if that was discussed at the full commission at this
It
point.
wasn't.
I think it was in a smaller meeting.
When you
Leadership.
all meet.
Oh,
Oh,
never mind.
okay. So, we'll, point 1.2, the mayor or their designee shall receive, yada, yada, yada. Is there a motion to support? A motion and support. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 4-401, heads of departments.
Moved.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And I think lastly, 4-402, heads of agencies. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. We did have, also, I think attached here was the Chapter 4, internal and external auditors, or audits, excuse me. After looking at this, and I'm looking at the internal auditor issue, the external piece, I'm coming to the belief that we should just eliminate the entire section dealing with internal auditor. In looking at the last 25 years of history, it appears that, I didn't know all of them, but I think there were maybe 8 audits done in that period of time. And if you look at what this person should be doing, there should be tons more. And so what's happening is the work is not getting done. It's not being performed. And also over that same period of time, there was a lot of time when there was no auditor at all. They keep going through them, and in fact, we just lost, or the council just lost the auditor a couple of weeks ago. And so in terms of the effectiveness, and is this getting done, is this work getting done, is it effective? The answer for the last 25 years has been no, in my opinion. And I just, the other way that I would look at this, if we want to continue with this, I would make this position independent. I would have both council and the mayor being able to select who the auditor is and be able to fire, have mutual abilities to do both. I would have the mayor and the city council meet twice a year, once in the first of the year, once in the middle of the year, to determine what audits should be conducted. And then I would locate, someone has to be responsible for this position. Can't be council and it can't be the mayor. There's only one other elected person.
No.
that it would be the clerk. Well, those are the two options I see. I mean, Commissioner Bauer.
So if we removed it from the charter, could the city council still hire an auditor? Because that really is their arm of being able to have a handle on what's going on in the city.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
My concern is if it hasn't been done in 10 to 25 years and the council was in charge of this requirement, what are we doing? What are we putting in place to make the council enforce this rule?
Commissioner Lopez.
Well, we've heard and we know that the internal auditor can't do that alone. And they've never had, I think at some point they did have an assistant, but that was a rare occasion. So if we don't talk about internal audit, then an auditor needs to have proper staff to do the job.
Why hasn't a proper staff been appointed to this position?
Well, again, that's the question.
No.
If city council does not, through the budget process,
They can amend the budget and add
Right.
positions, and they've chosen not to do that.
That's not true.
And
I've said that all along.
yeah,
The council can do a lot of things, but if they don't do it, it's because they don't want to, or because they can't due to budget constraints. So I guess that's the other response to why work hasn't been done as effectively as it could have or should have. So, I mean, there's various circumstances.
Commissioner Washington.
Okay. The reality is there used to be 4 or 5 auditors. Verge Bernero came in and slashed the budget, and they were cut. So it isn't a matter of they shouldn't be there, they should be there. And if we have to strengthen it in the charter, then we should strengthen it. But there is no way I would agree to cut all this out. There's no way I will agree that the auditor would report to the city clerk. There's no way I would agree. Council needs to have a handle on what's going on for the budget, for the legislation, for the ordinances. And I have found what we have done throughout this process is we have strengthened every position except council. We are chopping away and chopping away and chopping away. And I would never agree to that. I say council hasn't had it in the budget because they can't have it in the budget. We're broke. We don't have money. But if we put it in the charter that it must be an effective department and that mayors just can't come in and we were there when they started cutting them, Brian. It was neutered. It was neutered. But I don't think you move it to the city clerk and the mayor. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. I don't like it at all. I think auditing is incredibly important, and I do still think they should report under the council.
Commissioner Boyd.
Is there money in the current budget proposal for an auditor? So there's nothing in the current budget proposal for an auditor?
I believe
Even though we have talked at length about an auditor, whether it's an auditor.
Absolutely.
Whether there's an auditor, internal auditor, or whether it's our auditor for the city would be responsible for the Board of Water and Light. I mean, we've had all these discussions. And what you're suggesting is that it be eliminated completely.
I'm suggesting a couple of different options. You can
Uh-huh.
either eliminate it. I'd rather make it independent. I think, what history has showed me when I was on city council is that once, you get a certain president in there and then they weaponize the auditor, basically having them do what they want done, which is inconsistent with what they are required to do under the charter. I just think it's been totally ineffective, and I think to make it effective, I think you have to take the politics out of it. In the city of Detroit, they have an independent internal auditor. It's an elected position. I mean, you can do that too. That's another option. I don't think we didn't talk about it that. But you could make it an elective position. And then they wouldn't respond or report to anybody. I mean, I'd be more than happy to put some language together and bring it back at our next meeting.
I like the notion of an independent auditor.
It-
Because quite frankly, may I, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sure.
Quite frankly, I think we've seen time and time again, the council is not doing its job. I'm happy to say it publicly. And so maybe an independent auditor is the way to go.
Madam Bauer, or Commissioner Bauer.
Well, and at the state level, we have an auditor general who's
Right, independent.
very separate from both branches. In fact, both branches, I mean, the executive and legislative always complain about all of his reports, which means he's doing a good job. But I think we need an internal auditor. I think that's an important function, and I would support either leaving it as it is and hoping we can get more teeth in it. I haven't even thought of an elected auditor, so that would be an interesting thought. Maybe we could get some feedback from Detroit or take a look at their system.
Commissioner Cui.
I think the idea of it being independent is great, but also if we're going to change it and move that way in this chapter 4, also that they should have a team. So not just an auditor, but an auditing team. So if we put a number in there, at least 3 or 4 individuals along with that auditor to support that.
Yeah, I don't.
That way, you can't?
Yeah, under state law, you're not allowed to establish a minimum staffing level in the charter. So you can have language,
So you say to have
you can't say there has to be a
and a
minimum
team,
of
but you
5.
can't put a number on it.
Right, so like the current language says something like shall, have, I think adequate assistance or things like that. You can provide that they can appoint a deputy, things like that, but you can't say minimum of X number.
Okay, so.
Commissioner Washington.
I would not be opposed to an elected auditor because I agree with the Auditor General. They can have their own department. It could be made up. But I will also acknowledge the fact that when I suggested an elected city attorney, and we do have the Attorney General, that everybody just had a conniption and thought, oh my God, we can't do that. So I'm wondering how it would be okay to do an Auditor General per se, when none of you could consider an elected attorney, when we do have an Attorney General that works just fine.
We'll be dealing with that next week. So, Commissioner Boyd.
Well, for the record, in response to Commissioner Washington, I like the notion of an independent auditor. Just as I opposed electing a city attorney, I would oppose electing an auditor. So I would be consistent on that point.
Okay. So, do you want to draft something and just bring it back, or where do you want to go from here? Commissioner Dow.
Before anything is drafted, I just want to call out that too. My concern about electing this position is I don't know that most people have really the right concept of what person needs to be in that role. And you kind of need somebody to appoint that person and vet that person into that role. To just run an election for that, legal, I could see that's one thing. You got an attorney with a great track record, an internal auditor. Me as a citizen, I don't know that I would know enough qualifications of what exactly the city needs to be in that position. So I'm hesitant and elected on that as well.
Okay. Do you want me to bring some language back, or do we? I don't want to waste my time here. So,
I think there should be some language on an
Okay.
independent auditor.
Okay.
I am opposed to elected auditor.
okay. A non-elected, independent auditor. Okay. Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I think we should look closely at the Detroit language of their internal auditor, see how that works. Even it's elected, I know.
Yeah.
But we can have that as an example of something we can look at.
They have an elected auditor. The term is 10 years, but it's independent. Yeah, yeah. So we'll put something together and bring it back and kick it around. Commissioner Bauer.
I'd also be interested in the reaction from city council as well as the mayor on if it could work to have the internal auditor as we have it, but have it be independent as you first described it. Get their reaction if they think that is something that would be workable and would provide the right balance.
Okay. Madam Vice Chair.
My concern with that is if they have not been producing an audit for years, and we've been running through auditors for years, they're not enforcing they're not utilizing their role as city council people. They literally have the final say in everything that's going on, and they were reporting to city council. So if I'm a city council person, I'm gonna and he's the auditor, where's the report, Mr. Kawhi? Where's the annual report? So why aren't they asking those questions? And he's saying, I don't have anything. Then you don't need to be in your role. That's my opinion. But literally, we don't have a report for years. And then we're running through them.
What do we have them do?
I don't know. That's a problem. We don't know. We don't have a report.
Commissioner Washington.
First of all, that's not true. Audits have been done. And yes, they have, Lori. I was on council while they were being done. Carol Wood would never have sat back and never let an audit not go through. However, having said that, there's also personnel issues, and some of the auditors haven't been that good, and some of the auditors have been encouraged to leave. So, to say every auditor sat there for 25 years and didn't do an audit is ludicrous. It's a false narrative. Audits have been done. The last one being done was on the BSNA system. So I don't know who decided no audit has been done in 25 years, but it's just not true.
And I did not say that. It hasn't been done in 25 years. It was presented to us that the audits had not been done consistently over these years. And an annual audit should be done in any organization. There's not an organization I've ever been a part of that you don't produce an audit every year. That is a part of their job. So who is held accountable when that audit is not produced?
I would say it is council's responsibility, and we need to put teeth in this charter to determine what will be audited, and that the internal auditor does not have the power to decide what would be audited. Because when I worked in audit for the state of Michigan, there's no way the auditors decided what would be audited. They were told what would be audited. And we have to get this language cleaned up and give it some teeth and make sure it's done. And then if it's not done, somebody needs to take counsel to task. You don't just willy-nilly. We've had some pretty inept councils. Let's just be honest here, because people don't know what they're voting for when they vote for council. It's our fault, but we need to make it clear what the responsibilities are, and they need to be held to it.
Well, for my 2 cents, you look at the charter language, I think it's very clear what the responsibility of the auditor is and what they should be doing. And again, they're just not doing it. Now, there may be a couple of audits that have been done, but for the most part, they're not done. They're at least pursuant to what the requirements are in the charter. These folks typically have been used by the president to do whatever it is the president is focused on. I think it's important that this position becomes independent. I'm not saying don't have it, but if the issue is continue to run it as is, I'm not going to support that. I mean, nothing's getting done. But if we can make this into an independent auditor, and with both the mayor and the council having a say in hiring and firing, and mutual ability to sit down and determine what's to be audited. I think there has to be an ordinance created that would say, what kind of audits are we going to be looking at? Performance audit, financial audits. We get the financial audit is being done by the external auditor in terms of, as to the city council and the rest of the city. But, that would be something I would let the mayor and the council decide to do in terms of creating that scope of work. But If we don't move this off into an independent position, I don't think things are going to change based on the past history that we've had. Commissioner Washington.
I would say that I agree, excuse me, that the mayor and the council should get together and determine what should be audited, but I still think it should not be totally independent because somebody has to be responsible for the inner operations. Are they showing up to work? Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? But I do agree that it makes sense to have the mayor and council sit down together and decide what will be audited when.
Yep. Okay, I'll get some language out to you. So, moving on. Next articles would be the Articles 4 and 5 dealing with the Police Board of Commissioners and the Fire Board of Commissioners. I think this material starts on page 16. And Kristen, you have a memo for us regarding this language? 18? But, okay, you know, I'm trying. We're moving forward, not moving backwards.
All right. Well, I see my memo on page 20. I'm trying to find 18 here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, page 18 already has the language that's been approved under the fire department provision. On the memo for page 20, it does a couple of things. First of all, the commission had been discussing sort of why there is a difference in language and process for selection of the fire chief versus selection of the police chief. And after hearing from representatives of those commissions, and there was a correspondence from the police commission saying that they thought it would be appropriate to have the police chief selection more aligned with the fire chief selection. I did draft language that would have that selection change. And that's on page 22. And also in doing that, there was some additional language requested that candidates for police chief will be licensed by MCOLS or a comparable licensure from another state and obtain MCOLS licensure following confirmation of the police, following confirmation as the chief. There's been no changes to how the fire chief is selected. And I had not heard any recommendations or desires from the commission on how either chief is suspended or removed. So there's not been any changes made to that language.
Yes. Commissioner Boyd.
Thank you very much, Kristen, but I have looked at this, and I have an issue with 4303.3 and 4307.3. In those sections, the mayor may suspend the fire chief or the police chief and notify the Board of Commissioners respectively of the reasons for the suspension. The board shall convene at the earliest opportunity after the suspension and determine by a majority of the board serving whether that suspension should continue. And that applies to both the fire chief and the police chief. I have an issue with that. I think it's fine to include the Board of Commissioners respectively for the police and fire on the front end. They make recommendation, they approve the hiring, blah, blah, blah. But to be honest, I don't see our mayor, whoever the mayor is, willy-nilly firing a police chief or a fire chief without reason. Further, I have a problem with an unelected board that has no accountability to the public having a say in whether or not the police chief or the fire chief should continue to serve. I have a problem with that. I don't think it's right. And I know it goes in it's sort of at odds with what we just approved, and I had it here somewhere. In one of our earlier votes, we voted on giving the council the power to go against the action of the mayor on the hiring of a department head. So I don't know how this affects that, but at a very minimum, I have a problem with this. Thank you very much.
Just for clarification purposes, in both of the police and the fire language in point 3 talks about suspension. That's not a firing then, correct? Well, no, that's not, that's what I understood at first was firing, but that's just the suspension, correct? So in terms of firing, I mean, that would be left up to the mayor alone. Is that correct?
No, I mean, if you look at 4-303, point 3, so of the chief, so it starts out by saying the mayor may suspend, and then they notify the fire commissioners, and then they convene and say whether to continue the suspension, but then the next sentence says, the fire chief may be removed by the mayor only with the concurrence of a majority of the board serving. So, I mean, there's that removal in the last sentence for the fire chief, and then
Okay.
similar language with the police chief in 4-307. I think the idea is that the mayor can sort of unilaterally suspend on the front end and let them know in case it needs to continue, because with a suspension, you may need to act quickly, more quickly than convening a board. But there still has to be sort of buy-in from both of these commissions for the continued suspension and actual removal of these respective chiefs.
Understood. Commissioner Dunn.
So I think, having heard people speak to us from both commissions, I think the opposite. I think that's part of the reason we decided not to have term limits is because there's a skilled level of expertise on both of those boards, and they're bringing that knowledge to the community, whereas other boards don't have that authority, right? Like they're not tasked with that. But these folks serving in these two boards or commissions really are experts in that field and we've decided we would allow them to continue to serve longer than a term limit because it made sense for their knowledge to be at the table for us. So I think that I feel okay with that.
Other comments? Madam Vice Chair.
I'm very comfortable with that because these are two vital services of our community. And the commission, I feel that they should serve in this role as saying that, okay, the mayor can suspend, but then we will review this and then have the final say on this with the mayor's approval.
Commissioner Bauer.
And I think looking back, the reason it's in the charter and even looking at current affairs, especially police, fire also, they're public safety. But I think it's important there be some citizen review or citizen involvement. I understand what Commissioner Boyd means, but I think that's why it's in there, and I'm comfortable with that. And those can be very political decisions to fire a police chief or a fire chief, maybe more so than other departments. So I think it's a balance with some citizen involvement that I think is important. And if I were the mayor, I would want a board that would be backing me too. I mean, that were involved, that could give input, because they're so highly emotional, controversial issues sometimes. So I think we should leave it.
Commissioner Boyd.
No, I've made my case.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez.
Yes, I think in line with what she said is that's the voice of the people. They're appointed because they represent the sections of the city. And also, more so than their expertise, it's the community representation that has the voice to affect, positive or negatively, a decision that goes in line with their responsibility. The other thing I would say is that that may be in another section or something different, is encourage the citizenry to attend those meetings and find out what's going on. Because again, you're elected or appointed, and you need to hear what people need to say in terms of police and fire. Very important. But again, it's the people's voice on those commissions. So I think that they need to be consulted and included.
I love, Mr. Chair, I love the notion of the citizens having input. I think they should have input. That's why I think the front end of the hiring process, they do have input. But to hear everyone talk on this commission, I would say, then why aren't we doing that for all kinds of department heads? I think there are plenty of people down in Michigan Avenue that would like to take issue with the public service director at this time. But they don't have the right to say if that person should continue or not continue. So I would just rest my case.
Commissioner Washington.
I can respect Commissioner Boyd's position. However, the people on these commissions are not just willy-nilly standing on Michigan Avenue. And they do, I was a fire commissioner, Commissioner Lopez was a police commissioner, and you get deeply involved in the workings of those departments, and they know exactly what they're doing. And if they don't, they are not reappointed. A commission is different than an advisory board. And I'm going to tell you, I can think of a mayor that absolutely would have willy-nilly fired a police chief or a fire chief. And it's for all kinds of reasons I can see it happening, and I think it's very important for those two positions to have that extra layer of protection and wisdom. So I respect your position, and I understand from where it comes. It's just, I support keeping it as is.
Well, I support everything that's been said here tonight. I just, although, having said that, how do you address the issue, though, of the lack of accountability to the voter? I mean, I understand all the good work that everybody's doing and the commitment that everybody makes and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, if something goes awry, these folks are not accountable to the voters. And how do you get around that? I mean, is there something we could put insert into the language? Commissioner Washington.
I guess I'm not understanding who's not accountable, the commissioners?
Yeah, the commissioners.
I think there should be a way to remove them if they're out of line from these boards. I mean, the mayor has the power to ask them to get off.
Yeah.
Are you,
Madam Vice Chair.
are you suggesting maybe that it should be maybe the police commissioner, fire commissioner, the mayor, but including city council? Because city council is accountable, and they would have the issue. Say if there's an issue with a commissioner of the board or whatever's going on, or removing someone, that the council should have a final say as well, or
No,
have input.
That's not where I'm going. Where
Okay.
I'm going is if there's a decision, ultimately the decision to fire somebody, carries with it,
Ramifications.
And so if what happens, if there's a problem that happens because of that, there's no the only one that would be held accountable would be the mayor. There would be no accountability for the individual board members. Yeah. Commissioner Anderson.
I mean, I'm okay on that falling to the mayor simply because the mayor still has to spearhead the firing. Like the board, the commission isn't just like, hey, we think we should fire the police chief, right? The mayor has to start that process, and then the commission is just confirming or not confirming. And so I think that I still think the responsibility mainly falls on the mayor, which then goes back to the voters, so.
Kristen, can you think of any language or anything that could go in there that might address that?
So I did want to point out, if you were to remove the respective .3s as they are, what would happen is that would trigger 4-401.5. So I want to direct your attention to that, because that says, unless otherwise stated in the charter, every person appointed by the mayor to an indefinite term, so that would be your department heads, they may be suspended or removed by the mayor, period. A mayor, then you file the notice, and then to the city clerk, and then if the city council determines by a vote of 2/3 of council members serving within 30 days of the notice of its receipt of suspension or removal, that the action was not in the best interest of the city, the person may, in the discretion of city council, be reinstated. So if you get rid of these two sections, this language would apply, and it would they would be treated like all the other department heads. So city council could override within that sort of 30-day window, unless Yeah, and that's how it's already, yeah, so you just kind of kept that in place. Unless you were to develop language to the contrary to say, like, it's just the mayor, the end,
Yeah,
period.
no.
So,
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Washington?
Is, Commissioner Boyd, would you want her to write something up where it would move to council and take it away from the commission? Would that be more suitable?
I think that would address the accountability issue, because you'd have people who voters have elected making a final decision or reversing a decision, whatever. So I think it might be better than the commission.
But you would still involve the commission, though, to the
Recommendation to the council.
to the council.
Oh, sorry. Can I have your attention, please? I could support that if it were written properly, you know, with input from the board, if the council were held, you know, 2/3 of the council.
Well,
But
you
it
could,
would,
you could just, at the end, revert it back to that 4-point dash, or 4 dash, whatever it was that you cited, that process. Commissioner Bauer?
I just have lots of concerns about involving the council in this kind of a decision. Again, it's so, when things are difficult in those two departments, especially police, but also fire, I think we leave it as it is. I'm more comfortable with a citizen board than I am with the city council being involved in this kind of a decision.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yeah, I think that if you look at both commissions, they're not free to do a lot of things, okay? For example, something happens, you know, the Swans case, for example. You had the police commission. The police commission was set aside, and another group was put, you know, appointed to do the review and the investigation of that. So that took some, you know, big responsibility away from the police commission. So those are the things that impact either their validity or lack thereof, or their importance or lack thereof. So somehow, and I don't know how it would be worded in the charter, is that the police commission would be in charge of investigations relating to incidents such as A, B, C, or D. Because they are the commission, and you can get experts to help them do the investigation. But all I want to point out is that when incidents happen, the police commission has been set aside, and then the other group has done the investigations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that I think they're rendered powerless themselves. in that
Commissioner
sense.
Down?
I'd like to make a motion, because I think we're talking in circles here. My motion, though, because this proposed language only changes the police department, not the fire, so we don't have to deal with that at all. So I would propose that we accept the proposed language that keeps in line, that aligns the police and fire for the hiring process, or the appointment process of the police chief and fire chief, and then just accept the proposed language as is, and we don't change point 3 at all.
Support.
It's been supported. So just so we understand, we're dealing with 4-303?
307.
Oh, you want, okay. So no change to point 1. Point 2, you want the proposed changes
The proposed
adopted.
changes, yep,
And then point 3 left as is.
correct.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. How about 4-303? Is there a motion to move that in total? Point 1 through point 3?
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes. And then, Okay. All right, moving on to, I've got it, just a second here. The board and commission text, Article 5, which begins on page 23. There are certain sections in here that we have not approved. There's certain chapters. The first one, I'll get to it, is 5-106 on page, I believe, 25. Did we, Pat, do you have any record that we have done this review?
You have not, because we were waiting for, communications from the mayor's office, which are.
Oh, okay. Right. There is also a handout, a communication, I think a two-page document that we had sent a request to the mayor's office asking them to review this section to make sure that the functions are still consistent with what's being done today as it was written in the charter 40-some years ago. You have that in your packet. I believe it begins on page 4, going back again. So, with that in mind, starting at 5-106.1, is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 4.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 5.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 6. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. 5-107.1. I think this is just, yep.
That was
All those in favor, or it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Those opposed, point 2. All those
So moved.
in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Kristen, I guess I'd ask you, this language will be consistent with the transition document then?
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you. 5-108, limitation on powers of boards, point 1. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. So 5-301 is, oh wait, are we supposed to? This is dealing with the Chapter 3 Board of Police Commissioners. We've not approved that, nor the Board of Fire Commissioner language in this chapter. So 5-301.1,
Second.
been moved and supported. Pass, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2,
So moved.
been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Point 3,
So moved.
it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 4,
So moved.
it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 5,
Second.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 6.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 7. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes. 5-302. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes. Chapter 4, 5-401, this is regarding the Board of Fire Commissioners, point 1. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, point 2. We have a minor amendment where it says 5105.8, it would be 5-105.8. With that amendment, or with that change, is there a motion to support? It's been, or moved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, it passes. Point 3. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 4.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 5. It's been
Second.
moved and supported. All of those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 6. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 7. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. We did the Board of Ethics already, so I think that's it for Chapter 5. Let me check another page. Yeah, we're done with Chapter 5. I think going back to page 31, we have a memo from our attorney. Kristen, do you want to review that with us?
So this article, this memo deals with a couple different articles on the matter of training for boards and commissions. And so I start here with city council, but actually the meat of the language starts under the boards and commissions section, which would be a new 5-105. So the bottom of page 31, on top of page 32, has the general language that just says, and this would be a new section within this provision. Members of all boards and commissions shall undergo training on laws, rules, and municipal matters relevant to the duties of the board served. At a minimum, all members shall complete training on the Michigan Constitution, the city charter, the OMA, the Home Rule Cities Act, the ethics ordinance, parliamentary procedure, and such general topics provided to city employees upon hire, including harassment, implicit bias, and privacy. Training shall be completed within 6 months of appointment. So by putting that in Article 5, that would apply to all boards and commissions. And then from that language, we sort of springboard into for the Board of Water and Light, some more specific language for them, which really just enshrines what they're already trained on. So in addition to the training requirements set forth in 5-105.12, which we just read, members of the Board of Water and Light shall undergo training on such general topics provided to the Board of Water and Light employees upon hire, meaning those things that, sexual harassment training, things like that. Members shall also undergo annual training on utility governments and training provided by an organization for community-owned utilities. There are specific organizations that provide annual training that the Board of Water and Light goes to. We did not name them specifically to be able to allow to go to different trainings as that board and utility sees fit. And then finally, the other sort of add-on would be back on page 31, specific to the city council. So in addition to the training requirements set forth in 5-105.12, so the same training that all board members go to, that the city council would as well, members of city council shall undergo training on drafting ordinance and municipal finance, which shall be completed within, that's actually a typo, 6 months of taking office. 6 months of taking office.
Okay, just a quick question on C, under C, Board of Water and Light, what section, is that chapter 5-202.4? Will that
Oh.
go into that section? No, is this part of 5-105.12, or would this be under the Board of Water and Light chapter or
I
section?
didn't put that out, let me take a look a second.
I was looking at it, I was thinking 5-202.4, and then renumber the existing .4 to .5.
Well, that's what I want to address too. I don't mind separating those trainings out because they are different, but in addition to that, for the BWL, because they do have training that takes them to out of the state
Yep, right.
for the governor's
State,
training.
yeah.
So I think their language should be separate, maybe within them, but I agree the basic training and language for all boards and commissions should be the same, including BWL, but then BWL does have different municipal training.
Yeah,
So
I
to
think
state that clearly in the charter, that this is what they would have. Like in addition to the training requirements set forth in section 5-105-12, members of the BWL shall undergo training consistent with that required of employees, as well as training related to governance of municipal utilities.
Right, I agree with that. I was
Okay.
trying to figure out which section, where that would be, what section in the charter, where it would go in the charter.
We could either separate it out or just make it part of our training section and make it one section. And it might be easier just to make it one section of training requirements. But that's up to the board, the commission, sorry.
I think it would be drafted differently.
Okay.
Commissioner Boyd?
I just have one question. In the proposed language for the Board of Water and Light, it says that they will undergo training provided by an organization for community-owned utilities, and yet the proposed language for boards and commissions does not say who's going to provide that training. So my question is, we're asking that the training happen, but who's going to do the training? The municipal league? Have we mentioned it someplace else in the charter?
No,
Madam Vice Chair.
there's specific training that the city clerk's office provides to our board and commissions to everyone. So on certain things, but we can add, of course, the Homes Rule Act, City Charter, Michigan State Constitution, but with the Board and Water of Light, of course, they have specific training that they send their board members to.
Then I think our language should say that the training would be provided by the city clerk.
Under Board of Water and Light. That
No,
part.
on all, because we don't say who's going to provide the training.
Right, just a second.
Maybe it says
I don't think you have to
someplace, maybe
provide
it
that.
says something in someplace else in the charter.
Commissioner Anderson?
I would not put in here that that is the responsibility, oh my gosh, responsibility of the city clerk. I think that as time goes, like, there should be some flexibility in who's able to provide that training. So if they want to outsource it to the MML, if they want to hire.
Address it somehow.
I don't think so. I think that we should just put that the training is required and the city can figure out how they want to do that.
Commissioner Washington?
The city attorney has done a lot of this training also, so they certainly could do the training on Home Rule Act and ordinances and everything else, and the finance could be done by the finance department.
You can add some.
But I got the training from the city attorney's office.
Clerksville?
So depending on who is being trained, it's done generally by different sources. And while I provide the video link to board and commission members, I don't provide the training. It's a video put together by the city attorney's office. So, I mean, I don't know that it needs to be spelled out. There might be opportunities where we could get a video that an organization such as MML has put together for portions of it. And there maybe we have an annual opportunity where we bring in a parliamentary procedure person and do some on-site training. So I think it does for the broader, more general things need to be flexible. And for city council members, the city attorney has done the training in person generally. So it does somewhat depend on who it is.
Commissioner Dow.
So I think maybe to clarify this, because I agree, I don't think we add in the charter is just saying what has to happen. It never should state who does it in these situations. But we could just remove out of the Board of Water and Light that it is an organization for community-owned utilities and just say they must undergo utility governance training, period. And then it doesn't say by whom. And then that aligns those together. They already do that, which I understand makes sense as to why we added that language, but we just leave that vague as well, that it just has to be done.
Commissioner Washington.
Commissioner Dowd, you're on fire tonight.
All right, so let's go down this. First, if we go onto the front page, under City Council, there's the proposed language. This would be in the next available section of 3-207. Is there a motion to approve this language? It's moved. Is there
Second.
support? It's moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed. We have then next, it passes unanimously. We have next a new section 5-105.12. Is there a motion to approve this language? It's been moved and supported.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. Now, under the Board of Water and Light proposed language, is there a specific place, Kristen, that you would recommend?
I would either add it to 5-201 and then reorganize that so the current 5-201 is a .1. So that section is just the Board of Water and Light, here's what it is, and then a .2 on training. Or 5-203 has powers of the board, and it could potentially go in there. Or you could create an entirely new chapter within the 5-200 series.
So if it was in 5-201, is it 5-201.1?
I would make that one, so what it would be is the current 201 would have a .1, and then this would be to approve a .2,
Okay.
the language, and then it, subject to any other amendments.
So this would be proposed language for 5-201.2. Are there any questions? Changes? Commissioner Boyd?
I just would like to know, has the Board of Water and Light seen this language, and do they support it? Short of that,
I
short
don't
of the
believe so.
amendment.
Well, we have a representative in the audience,
Just
so she'd like to come down.
We did see the language, and we did have a little bit of a change to say, not technically saying annual, and saying to utility governance, because the training that we're referencing originally, saying we go to APPA, that is a national conference that is in a different state, and this is a volunteer board. So if you have a job and you can't go to that one, I don't want that, we didn't want that to be like precluded. So this would be that you're getting the training in whatever way you can on utility governance. Yeah, I think what we said was, yes, so in addition to the training requirements, we had suggested members of the Board of Water and Light shall undergo training consistent with that required of our employees, as well as training related to governance of municipal utilities.
Well, do you have that language?
I
mean,
do have it written down.
Yeah, I can send it to you. That's what I just said.
Okay.
So,
I would
I'll
like to,
forward it to
if
you.
we could have it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now.
And for required, if you're wondering what required trainings our employees get, they get ethics, harassment, cybersecurity as the minimum requirements.
Okay, so very slowly, tell us what the.
Yeah, in addition to the training requirements set forth in section 5-105.12, members of the Lansing Board of Water and Light shall undergo training consistent with that required of employees, as well as training related to governance of municipal utilities.
Okay.
Also trying to leave that part open-ended because we have 4 utilities, so we don't want it to be electric specific. They should learn about water, steam, whatever.
No, we want to get it on the record right now.
Consistent
so
with
we can
that
vote on it.
required of employees, of employees, as well as training related to governance of municipal utilities. Yeah,
Emery, did you get all that? Good, okay.
happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you. So, with those changes, are there any other questions or comments? Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Tell you, the board gets a lot of what they want. I'm telling you. Yeah. All right. I think that takes us then to Article 8, begins on page, I think, 37, moving forward. Kristen, you have a memo, or pardon me, this is the memo stuff. Kristen, do you want to review that with us, please?
Sure. So the memo starts on page 37. And this was answering and doing some follow-up language development on some things that were left open after the last review of Article 8. So the franchise language, just to provide an overview of what it is a legal agreement between a city and a utility or service provider that allows that provider to operate within the city rights-of-way. So it's pretty common that in other cities that don't operate their own municipal utility to have a franchise for things like water or power, or you could even have transportation, like a rail car is what's specified in the Home Rule Cities Act. So the language as it currently exists in these provisions on franchises is consistent with what is provided in the Home Rule Cities Act. I did provide a copy of some language of some more recent charters on kind of how they treated the franchise language. It is a little all over the place, so I provided that as sort of additional sort of observation for you to review. I think this is a situation where you're going to want some ability for the city to have some ability to create a franchise, even if maybe the need, even if you're maybe not using it to the same extent other cities are now. And it is consistent with the Home Rule Cities Act, so nothing is strictly like required to be updated to comply with the law that we could see. But certainly if you wanted to have further review of, or modernize, I suppose, the language, we could certainly look at it. But in terms of whether it's by ordinance, other cities have that in their charter that it's by ordinance, and those are even more recent revisions or approvals there as well. So again, it's one of those, we can certainly look at modifications if you want to. We don't necessarily think you have to, though.
Kristen, at this point, could we just go through 201 and 202 in terms of votes, and then we can then come back to Roman numeral 2, utilities, in your memo?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So if everyone would turn to page 33 in your packet, it deals with Article 8. Chapter 2 is franchises, and it has in parentheses pending. That's the language we'll go over right now, and that was what was just discussed in the memo, or within the memo. So Article 8-201.1, is there a motion to approve? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. The opposed passes unanimously. Point 2. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed passes unanimously. Point 3. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed passes. Point 4. It's been moved and supported. Is that time frame, the 30 days, is that consistent with current law? Do you know?
I don't remember if this is a provision that's specifically spelled out by the Home Rule Cities Act. I don't recall if that is required language in point 3 in terms of the 30 days.
Do you want us to move on it, or do you want to come back?
I guess, do you want to know if that's required if you want to change it or not.
I'm just wanting to make sure it's not incompatible with any state law or,
No, I didn't see any issues.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Is there a motion to move? Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 5. Is there a motion? Moved, supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 6. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 8-202.1. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2, just take a moment, and let's do point 2A through G. So smoke them if you got them. There's been a motion. Is there support?
Second.
Everybody had a chance to go through these? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Kristen, we're back to you.
Okay, so it starts at the bottom of page 38, but it's really mostly on 39. There's language on utilities within Article 8, and so it's 8-301, 303, and 304, and really the changes are to align the language of the types of utility services with the language that had been added to the BWL-related services in Article 5. So that is what the recommended changes provide in those 3 sections.
All right, why don't we go through this real quickly? 8-301. Is there a motion to support that language with the added amendment of updating the utilities that are being supplied by the Board of Water and Light? It's been moved, supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 8-303 regarding rates on page 35 of your packet. Again, updating the various utilities that are being provided or services. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 8-304. Point 3, or pardon me, all of it, 1.1 through point 3. Why don't you take a few minutes to take a look at that? And point 3 is amended. Been moved and supported for 8-304.1 through point 3. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. Okay, property acquisition.
Okay. So I'll take up 8-401 first. That is on, the proposed language is on page 41. So there was a request to change 8-401.1 language that currently requires lowest responsible bidder in the city's competitive bidding process to language that the language is best value to the city, which is something similar to what Ann Arbor has done recently. And I did provide the Ann Arbor charter language for you to review on page 40. So the point 1 changes would be simply to say that the ordinance shall require competitive bidding for purchases in a manner that provides the best value to the city. But then there may be exceptional cases where competitive bidding is not required, and then strike that last language, which requires definition of lowest responsible bidder. So that was at the request made by a variety of building trades organizations. Also for your consideration, and you can take these up separately, you don't have to adopt, you can adopt one or both or neither. I did provide a proposal, point 3, for you to review. The Home Rule Cities Act prohibits a municipality from providing an official position to or making contract with one who is in default to the city. You already have a provision in your charter on not providing a official position to someone who is in default to the city. There is not a provision within the charter prohibiting contract with someone who is in default to the city. It's not strictly required for you to have it in your charter because the Home Rule Cities Act already prohibits it, but it's not uncommon for cities to have this language in as sort of a permissive, to have it in there to kind of reiterate that. So I added that in there for you to consider at this time because this would be the best spot to put it if that's something you want to do. So yeah.
Okay, discussions. Commissioner Boyd.
Just a point of clarification. I like the new language recommended that in a manner that provides the best value to the city, but that could also be the lowest bid, correct? Doesn't preclude that.
Correct. And if I can add a little bit more too, I had toyed with some language about providing some more, what does best value to the city mean? And I purposely did not put that in the charter with the idea being that it's left for ordinance and for, rule and things like that, because that can change over time. But the idea, generally speaking, with state agencies and cities, and there are a lot, that provide or look for best value to the city, it's consideration of price plus. So it could be, whatever the values are important to you. So that's, is this person a local bidder? Do they have a good track record? What is their expertise? Do they have sustainability? It's whatever you define that to be. But I left that open-ended to put in an ordinance because, again, that's one of those things where the values can change and what is really important can change. And so you want to have the ability to have that change through time.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, in this case, though, there's state law that requires, or doesn't require, local vendor. So I just want to make sure that we're not in violation of any state laws or that are out there. For example, if a local vendor for schools, for example, anywhere in Michigan is local, right? and we don't think that's local, but that's a state rule, right? So anything we do, just make sure that we're not in violation or in conflict with the state law.
Right, and at least for the charter language, simply stating best value to the city would certainly not run afoul of state law. And then, to the extent that ordinance can then be developed, the city council through the city attorney can then really hone in on what those values are and making sure they're consistent with how law changes through time for these types of things.
Kristen, I have a question. I read through the Ann Arbor ordinance, and it has an exception. It says that the city administrator may exempt a contract for public improvements, and they talk about just public improvement contracts. They're not talking about all of it, from best value scoring, and instead award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder in instances when the contract will be partially or wholly funded by third parties such as another government entity, a nonprofit, a philanthropy, or other similar entity when that entity requires their funding to be awarded on the lowest responsible bidder basis, so as not to jeopardize the receipt of third-party funding or jeopardize the participation of a funding partner in the project. Would this language allow for that exception if, when the ordinance is drafted, if the council wanted to include that, could they?
Yeah, I think so. If you wanted to include that language as an additional, are you asking the as drafted, just saying best value to the city?
Yeah.
I think it could, and we could, if you wanted to clarify that as well, there's already language, but there may be exceptional cases clearly defined in the ordinance in which competitive bidding is not required or, lowest responsive bidder, shall be used and, as defined by ordinance or something like.
Yeah,
For that
I mean,
sort of
I don't
thing.
want to put the limitations in there. I just want to make sure that when council deals with it, they're not hamstrung in any way. Because I don't want to prohibit the city from not working with the nonprofit because best values, and they're required to get lowest responsible bidder.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's really up to the city to define what best value to the city means.
Yeah.
There's not like one standard definition for it, so
Yeah.
I think that
Oh,
could
I
be,
agree.
I think that could be done
Okay.
through the ordinance.
All right. Commissioner Washington.
I was just going to add that if it involves maybe not getting money from a third entity,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be the best value. So that could be
Well, you can make
completed
your-
in with the best
Right.
value.
I mean, you can make the argument, I just wanted to make sure that they had the leeway to do it, to consider it. Okay, so with the proposed language, is there any other questions? Commissioner Lopez?
Just for your information, the city of Lansing does have an ordinance that allows for, selecting not the lowest bidder and/or a local vendor if it meets certain things. So it already exists. It could be, I guess, strengthened with language from the charter. But, I mean, they can do this for other things as well.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Hearing none. On the proposed language, this would be 8-401.1 with the amendments. It's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. Point 2. Oh, we already did, sorry. Point 3. It's been moved. Is there support? Moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, passes.
And then just the last provision was asking, or I wanted to follow up and ensure that 8-403, purchase and sale of real property, was still appropriate based on the law that was referenced, which is a federal law there. Since the charter has been passed, in terms of condemnation procedures, state law has changed, and condemnation procedures have to follow the Uniform Condemnation Procedures Act, and City of Lansing already does that. So to the extent that these current provisions reference, it's a federal law that's referenced in there, those would be essentially in addition to, not sort of instead of the Uniform Condemnation Procedures Act, and that is appropriate. There are times where, both may apply, and that certainly those provisions would also apply to other acquisition processes in terms of the guidance that the charter language gives for the enacting ordinance. So we really didn't, it does not conflict with state law as it's been applied, and I don't think you have to change the language as it currently sits.
So you would not recommend just inserting or citing that in addition to the federal law, the state law?
No, I think if you actually wanted to strike all that, I think you would just, I don't think you need to change anything, but if you wanted to just not reference the federal law, which is still a federal law in there, I think you'd have to do a little bit of rewriting to just strike those that language from the ordinance, or not from the ordinance, excuse me, from the charter.
Okay. So on 8-403.2, why don't you take a look at that? It's got several subsections to it. Is there any motion?
I would move as written. I mean, I see no reason to take the reference to the federal law out.
Yeah, okay. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 3. Kristen, in terms of the amount, the 50,000 that's in there, is that fairly standard, or is that low or high?
There aren't very many, that I think depends. There's not a lot of charters necessarily that put an amount on that. So that's really up to you, and again, so that's, again, that's something that you can decide.
Okay. All right, is there any discussion on this? Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to keep it the same.
Support? Been moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes. Okay, that wraps up Article 8. You did have in your packet a copy of Article 9, which is the transition document. That's for informational purposes only, but we're going to start looking at that and just updating it. And we'll have that at our last meeting for your consideration. Madam Vice Chair.
On 9-203, the pensions.
Yep.
It's apparently going to change that or the default. So would that still be relevant just to consider for the conversation?
Okay. Okay. We'll take a look at it. Thank you. All right. That should wrap up our business for this evening. I think at this point, we will be moving into public comment. Is there anybody? Anyone? Any commissioners have any comments? Hearing none, we're
It's not
adjourned.
like you're going to let us comment.